Hello, I'm Joie Johnson, and my study is Are You the One? A Study of Dating Preferences. So, there's been a lot of research about different skin tones and how it might affect someone's perceived attractiveness. In Hill's 2002 study, he found that women's attractiveness scores increased as their skin tone became lighter. Another study found that lighter skin on women is viewed as more as attractive in many different cultures. A 2013 study suggested that darker skin is more associated with masculinity and lighter skin is more feminine. In a 2011 study, they found that Black men were rated more highly in attractiveness than white and Asian men. So, with this information, I came up with two hypotheses. I hypothesized that darker skin in general will be viewed as less attractive on an individual. More so, women with darker skin will be viewed as less attractive than men with darker skin. I conducted a two by two factorial design study that would analyze the interaction between sex and skin tone and see if there was some type of relation to perceived attractiveness in regards to the two levels of skin tone, light and dark, and the two levels of sex, male and female. I wanted to know if there was an effect that sex had on attractiveness. Did skin have an effect on attractiveness? And was there a combination of both that was perceived as more attractive, or if there was any type of interaction at all? My participants weren't aware of the true purpose of the study. They were just informed that it was just about personal interest in the person in the image, not anything related to skin tone. The participants for this study were made up of volunteers from students in the psychology department at the University of Baltimore. Also, other volunteers were from my work environment and other online sources. I had a total of 144 participants consisting of male, female, and non binary identifiers between the ages of 18 and 67. They had about 42% white European, 28% Black African American, 12% Latinx, 5% Asian, and 11% identifying as other. So I created a survey that contained 8 different images of male and female subjects. They were selected from the Chicago Face database and were altered to appear lighter and darker. Participants in the study were randomly assigned to one image and had to answer the following questions. Do you find this individual attractive? Would you go on a date with this individual? Would you engage in a brief conversation with this individual? And would you exchange numbers with this individual? After viewing the questions, participants were told to respond using the Likert scale, responding if they strongly agree, somewhat strongly disagree, somewhat disagree, neither disagree or agree, somewhat agree, and strongly agree. Here are the samples images that I used in my study. You can see that there are 2 different women, 2 different men, and they were altered to be lighter in one image and darker in the other. Each participant was randomly assigned one image and they didn't see any of the other images. So there were only 2 dependent variables that showed any type of significance in my study. The first was that I find this individual attractive. There was a significance in the main effect of skin tone. There was a zero point 0.4 sig value. The highest mean was for a lighter skin, which was 3.91. On average, people rated the lighter skin images as more attractive than dark, but there was no significance in the interaction between sex and skin tone in this particular dependent variable. For the next variable, I would go on a date with this individual. There was a significance in the main effect of sex, having a sig value of 0.01 and the highest mean for males of 3.02. So on average, participants preferred the men over women. And there wasn't any significance in skin tone or the interaction between the both of them in this particular variable. For general romantic interest in the individual presented in the study, there wasn't any significance in either level, sex or skin tone. So So I predicted that darker skin would be viewed as less attractive, even more so that darker skinned women would be viewed more negatively. Um, I was able to support the hypothesis because lighter skin was more preferred over darker skin for some of the variables. For my first ANOVA measuring attractiveness, lighter skin was preferred and women were preferred over men. And for my second ANOVA, regarding the going on a date with an individual, men were preferred over women. But many other variables lack significance in their interaction, which is really what I wanted to study. I really wanted to know if skin tone and sex had an effect on someone's perceived attractiveness. In Cruz's 2018 study, they incorporated images that were low, intermediate, and high in beauty ratings and organized them in that order. And this is something that I could incorporate into my study if I wanted to further it because the images I chose weren't necessarily low in ratings. In a study, they found that skin color results may have not happened as they predicted because of a heightened awareness to skin color biases in society. So I may not have gotten the response to dark skin that I wanted because of the environment and social climate that we're in right now. People may not want to be offensive, so they would just rate a little bit more sensitively than usual. And in Guy's 2015 study, they found that white participants preferred mixed race faces over Black or white faces. So this could have something to do with um, the fact that my study was mostly, I think it had a 42% um, sample size of white individuals. So that might be why the lighter skin was higher rated because the lighter skinned individuals looked more mixed race than the darker skinned individuals. So one thing about my study was that the images I chose all had high attractiveness ratings. The men and the women were rated highly attractive, so that might have something to do with why there wasn't really a difference in the marginal means for some of the dependent variables. Also, participants were randomly assigned to images with no connection to sexual orientation. So, for example, a heterosexual male that identifies himself as so in the study could still be randomly assigned to one of the male images and have to rate his attractiveness towards those male images. Most participants were female, so that could have an effect on why men were highly rated for one of the dependent variables, and that was most significant. And for my other variables, um, the exchanging numbers variable, many people don't exchange numbers with strangers. So I feel like if I adjusted some of my dependent variables to fit more of something that people would do on a regular basis, I may find more significant results in the interactions between sex and skin tone.